that's it. No, all good.
Maybe we'll start then with discussing the Test cricket.
Yes, I think we'll get stuck into the Test cricket and the New Year's Test.
Mm-hmm.
It is day 4 starts in what?
An hour?
Yeah.
Yep. So currently the Aussies have a pretty commanding lead. They're about 200 ahead. Smith and Labuschagne at the crease. They've both made starts. So the Aussies batted first. They made 338. 2 new openers. So the return of David Warner after his groin injury, and the highly anticipated debut of Will Pucovski. Awesome amount of talent for the young Victorian. His name's been there for a long time. Just had a few little concussion problems and a mental health break, but he looks like he's ready for Test cricket. That looked very comfortable opening the batting. 50 on debut for Pucovski.
64 in total?
Yeah, I think he had 64. Got trapped LBW. Warner, his return was a little bit short-lived. He sort of...
In both innings, unfortunately.
Yeah, he really, in that first innings, flashed at one outside the off stump and schnicked it up to first slip. His feet were kind of stuck in mud. You can tell he maybe... just a little bit of time out of the nets. It kind of showed, and in the field as well, it looked a little bit slower
he's
than
a
he
bit
normally
tired,
is.
I think.
Yeah,
I think they said he was going to be 80. He said he was going to be 80%. And it definitely looks that way. He's a little bit laboured.
Yeah,
but Pucovski, on the other hand,
awesome.
Yeah,
awesome
also
great start.
Yeah, because we kind of talked about, do they go with that, bring in the young guy with the veteran, especially the veteran trying to come back into form, but it looks like he's outplayed him already. So, but it's
early stages. But
yes.
he's just been a freak for Victoria in the Shield of the last 2 seasons. So, yeah, I think it was just a matter of when he'd make his Test debut, not if.
Yeah, it was interesting in that second innings. He kind of changed up his stance a little bit. Like he was a bit more outside than when he was.
He
moved back a little.
He bats like Smith.
Yeah,
like it just exposes that leg stump and has no regard for his leg stump.
Yeah.
It's. Yeah, the coaches, I imagine these days, say, don't bat like that, bat like that. But Smith and Pucovski and Labuschagne all do.
Well, in the first innings, he looked a little bit closer, and they were showing vision of him in the second. He was a bit more over, and I wonder if that just threw him off a little bit. That's why he got out in the second innings. Trying a few things, but, it's good to see from a young man trying some stuff out and see how it works in Test cricket.
Yep.
Against one of the best bowling attacks in Test cricket.
Yeah, for sure. The rest of that innings, Labuschagne made 91. Looked like he was going to...
Should have hit it done.
Yeah, and...
Big filth in himself, I think.
Steve Smith with 131 back in the Ton Club. His first
Back
actually in 18 months, although there hasn't been a lot of cricket, as we mentioned in the last podcast, but it was 14 knocks since his last... It was a double century in at Old Trafford. Probably his longest dry spell in a while.
Yeah, and in this series, is he 131?
Something like that, yeah.
Under 10, I think.
One of that second innings in the first test was a not out because they, 3 dismissals for
under 10.
Yeah,
easy.
Yeah. So by his lofty standards, and he's probably his own harshest critic, was due, and it looked like old Steve Smith, and it only got dismissed by a brilliant piece of fielding, going back for 2 on that run out.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Aussies make 338. I think Jadeja, best of the bowlers for the Indians in the first innings. He had 4 for 62. Bumrah looked, threatening as usual. Just didn't have. I think he just bowled without a little bit of luck in that first innings. India go out there. They made 244. A very slow 244. Yep. Whenever Pujara's at the crease, it tends to occupy a fair bit of time. So Shubman Gill, he got his first ever 50 for Indians opening. Rohit Sharma comes into the side, so he was out of the sides for the first 2 tests. A very accomplished one-day player and also quite a handy test record. It's just one of those weird setups where they play so much one-day cricket. And he's just made bulk runs in one-day format and just doesn't quite have those lofty numbers to match in the test arena. Yeah. He was out for 26. Pujara comes in, makes 50 off 176 balls. Occupies a lot of time at the crease, but then I suppose if you get out on 50, I don't know, has he done the job for his team? Probably not. If you're looking to attack in that 176 balls, maybe you get a few more runs on the board, but that's just the way he plays the game. And a very old school approach. that strike rate of his is like, how guys often would bat back in the 60s and 70s. And, with the advent of short form cricket, if you're not striking at 60 or 70 these days, people going, what's wrong with you? So, I like to see it, an old school, the mental toughness and the concentration of him. Unreal.
Very, very different compared to, say, Pant, who comes out and just throws a bat at everything.
Yep. Yeah, Pant. Even the way like a Davey Warner bats in Test cricket, not too dissimilar to the way he'd go obviously a little bit slower, but still looks to play shots from the start. And that's what's brought him undone the last 2 innings.
Yeah, he's probably the that template for, for that T20 guy to Test cricket.
Yeah, that's right.
Make that transition.
That's right. Whereas Pujara, I think, is probably the only one of these guys that doesn't play really any 2020 cricket at all. He doesn't play in the IPL. I'd say I think the rest of that Indian team, they all play IPL.
It's interesting that he doesn't play IPL.
He's not suited to it. It's just not the way he plays the game.
You'd think he'd just do it anyway for a bit of spare cash on the side.
A bit of cash. Yeah, it's a curious case of Pujara. He absolutely demolished us last time they were out here. So this was actually his highest score. He's faced a lot of balls still, but just hasn't gone on with his made starts. A few 30s and 40s, and dismissed for 50 off 176 here. Pat Cummins, oh my goodness, he was unreal. He had four for 29 off 22 overs. He's going for about 1.5 and
over.
In
the field as well.
Yeah, running out, making catches, getting runouts. There was 3 runouts in the Indian innings. Very unusual for...
Yeah, the most was 4 in an innings. So even 3, that's crazy.
Test cricket. Yeah.
And there was 1 in the Australian innings as well. So there's 4 across the innings so far too.
Some of that, like that Ravi Ashwin, his run out, he was just lazy.
He wasn't
backing up. And it was a good piece of fielding, but
of the 3, Jadeja was caused. He was the other batsman, and 2 called him through on 2 of them.
So I don't know if that's necessarily Jadeja's fault, because he's quite handy in between the wickets, and he's trusting his ability. It's up to the other guy to trust your partner and get back up.
Well, on that Ashwin one, when they show Ashwin sliding his bat over, the batsman is at the other end with his bat on his hip and like one glove already off, because he's already completed his runs.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't really blame Jadeja there. I think there's definitely a run in that Ashwin one. He's just a little bit slow off the mark.
Yeah.
The Aussies, a complete turnaround from their fielding in Melbourne.
They fielded very
sharp in the field. A few nice catches. Cameron Green took a really nice catch. After his 21 ball duck, he probably, was dying to contribute in the field. They weren't giving him the ball a whole lot either, Cam Green. I think he bowled.
He bowled a few
five overs.
Yeah, he bowled a few more towards late in the Indian innings as well.
Yeah, and that's the testament to the fitness of the 3 frontline quicks. They just keep pounding.
Yeah, well, they want the ball. They're not going to give it to the young fella easily.
That's right, especially when Carlo's getting 4 for 29 of 22 overs.
He'll be saying, give me the ball more.
So now Australia resumed in about 45 minutes. They had 2 for 103. That lead, what is that lead exactly? It's about 200 odd, isn't it?
I think it's very close to 200. They got 103 in that innings, and
197 lead.
197? 197.
Yeah.
Very close to 200.
Yeah.
Labuschagne, 47 not. Steve Smith, 29 not. They resumed this morning. How many do you reckon they'll want to make?
I think it really depends on this first session. If they can get...
I think they'll look to attack.
Yeah. Well, I think they maybe play it safe for the next 100, and then they go ham and see if they can get 100. And then say maybe play...
If they're 400 ahead, they're declaring.
Exactly.
They might even declare 350 ahead.
I think they probably bat 1.5 sessions today, maybe.
Yeah.
See if they can get 200 in 1.5 sessions.
Yeah. Marks, can you Google, please, highest second innings totals to win at the SCG? I don't reckon.
Oh, well, SCG limits it because we don't want to Ben Stokes. Because I think England chased us down
with
400 and something. Yeah, and Stokes hit 140 odd.
Jeez.
So that's what we don't want.
Maybe, but surely 400. Like, that's a freak sort of instant.
Yeah. I mean, you're giving them a day and a half of the cricket to get to it, and the way no one's kind of batted for that long in this series either.
It's definitely been dominated by the bowlers so far. I think 400 you'd be very safe.
Yes. I think they'd be very safe in that.
Just while you're looking that one up, so have you heard much about the Brisbane test, which is meant to start on Friday?
Before I come back to that, I want to ask you the question to finish on this test. Ask the Kohli question. Do you think they're starting to miss him? They seemed all right in the last one, but this one...
Well, that's because Rahane got that ton.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to miss him. He's your best player.
It's a silly question to ask, really, but yeah.
They obviously they showed that they can win in Australia without him, which is a testament to the might of India.
Yeah.
And I went on a little bit of a rant last podcast about how tough these guys are going to be to beat, not just now, but in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
Of course it's your best player, but they've shown that they can hold their own without him.
Yeah, best player, arguably top 2 in the moment in cricket.
Yeah.
Well,
it's him, Smith, and Kane Williamson has actually just got the number 1 test spot.
Yep.
His form has been unreal. They've been absolutely
he just
smoking the Pakistanis. Yeah,
test runs as well.
Yeah, and I think he's got a double ton and a ton so far in this series in New Zealand against the Pakistanis. I think they won that game by an innings at 180 runs or something. Like absolutely destroyed them. Mate, they were 6 for 650 or something, and then smoked them with the ball. Yep. So Williamson, Smith for mine, and then probably Kohli.
Yeah, but they're all in that argument, and we'll probably piss a lot of people off that Kohli's not number 1, but
he's not. His numbers don't suggest that he's the number 1 test batsman in the world. ODIs in 2020 is a different story. And the fact that he's, as we mentioned last week, he was the only player to make all 3 of those teams of the decades. It shows his durability, versatility as a cricketer, can really play the game at an elite level across
his game
all 3 formats.
Very flexible and adapts.
But in terms of test cricket, I think Smith and Williamson are just that touch better at this stage. Who knows? Who knows?
So do you think it would be... Again, we're speculating that whether this test would be different with Kohli in it. We think, it's probably more even. If he makes, say, 50 in this, then, that brings that lead right down. It's a lot closer kind of test.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to say that he couldn't score 100 on this.
A big 100.
Yeah, it looks pretty good for batting wise. The field seems, the outfield seems to
hasn't
had
as many landmines as Melbourne had, and then
though it is the pitch is deteriorating. I wonder what today and tomorrow is going to be like.
I think Nathan Lyon will be very dangerous with the ball tomorrow.
Yeah.
He didn't get any scalps yesterday, but with that pitch sort of deteriorating, then you don't want to tire out your quicks too much. I think Gary will be getting a lot of the ball. He did bowl 31 overs. Yeah,
there's a bit of movement and there's a decent amount of turn there yesterday.
Yeah,
so I think it's only going to pick up in the next 2 days.
Yep, for sure.
And I think you had overs on the 12,500 capacity. Unfortunately, the unders was the right call.
Unders was the right call.
10,000 at the ground?
Yeah, I think just under. So we were right.
Max capacity.
We're scratching our heads when we're going, oh, geez, you can only have 5 people at your house, but they're going to let 20,000 in at the SCG. We were sort of right there that they did bring that number down and it didn't go to 0.
It didn't go all the way to 0, thankfully.
People having to wear masks whilst you're sitting there.
The people are full dressing up in hazmat suits and then having the mask on and have to pull it off to sip their beers and put it back on.
Someone's got to rig up the hazmat suit, but it's got the little, the helmet with the 2 beer cups like Homer Simpson's got it's just a straw going in.
Yeah. Did you see the classic Aussies? I think Sunrise was doing a cross to SCG and there's a fan in the background with his ass out on Sunrise and his mate was next to him rubbing his nipples. Of course. Yes. Classic Australians at the cricket.
But that's grumpy old people. Bloody put it here. I think it's a bit funny, but anyways. How do we go on those run chases at the SCG?
All right. So I got a couple for us. So last run chase for SCG was in 2006. Australia chased South Africa down 287 runs.
That's the last time someone's won batting second at SCG is 06.
Yeah, I believe so. That came off
difficult.
Ponting knock 143 runs off 159 balls.
Chasing 2 out, so he made half of the runs.
You probably have to go back through the list and see which tosses the Australia lost and didn't elect to bat at the SCG.
Yeah.
So I'd say they probably want to bat a lot. So, which then gives them home field advantage to be the last bowlers. So that's probably why they win there a lot at the SCG.
Although their record at Sydney is not as good as some of the other grounds. Yeah, so Melbourne and Sydney tend to favour the tourists more so. Not that they have a advantage, but they do tend to do better at those two grounds than, say, Perth or Adelaide or Brisbane.
So, well, I guess it alludes to the batting first is probably the preferred option at the SCG, according to that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But just under 300, 287, that's a lot different to 400. So
yeah, I think if they make anything over if they're 350 ahead, I think they win this game.
Yeah.
Brisbane, the government,
So
they haven't made a decision.
Well, let's talk about Brisbane first.
Yes.
So the fourth test is meant to be in Brisbane next week.
On Friday, so Sunday,
it's
so it's 6 days away.
Yeah, so it's a very quick turnaround. Brisbane is currently in a 3-day lockdown. So
for the one case of coronavirus they have.
Yeah, the UK strain, so they're a little bit worried about it. They don't want that to spread.
I'm from the UK. I'm a bit more dangerous. That's bad. I'll put that one away.
So they've, of course, in that lockdown. So they come out of that tomorrow, I believe. So Fridays, or is it Tuesday? I can't remember when it actually started, whether it was midnight Friday or not. Anyway, they're in a little small lockdown just to make sure everything's okay. And then, of course, they've still got their is it 2 weeks of isolation? Because it can't be if they're going to play a test next week.
No, I think they'll give them a special exemption.
Yeah. But I don't think they're getting any of those exemptions. And then I think they very much will be confined to hotels and...
which is essentially what they've been doing the whole tour.
Yeah.
I reckon they just don't want to play in Brisbane because they got a shit record there.
So I think it's very strict to get in. And, of course... since they're New South Welshmen's going across the border, well, they're in New South Wales to go across the border. That's challenged at the moment. Same if they wanted to go down to the MCG because Victoria's also closed their borders to Sydney.
You wouldn't think they'd be going there.
So they won't go back. They could play again at the SCG and drop another pitch in, but I don't think they started preparing a pitch a couple of days ago. But I think this announcement was made... Friday that they said they didn't want to go.
Yeah,
so
it's been speculated for a while, actually.
Yeah. So if they've said Friday they don't want to go, then if they're starting to pitch then, it's probably not going to be ready in a week.
No.
So that's why we're throwing out, bring it to Canberra, bring it to Monica. Don't play two in Sydney. We've got one here. You can probably get more fans down in Canberra than you could in Sydney at the moment. So
yeah, I don't know, what the Big Bash, I suppose. Oh, they've had Big Bash here this week. What capacity they've been going? It's like 60% or something.
Yeah, maybe around 10,000. Yeah, I'll have to look it up because that would
Big
be
Bash
half,
Monica crowd. Well, I think it's absolutely chock a block. There's like 13.
13. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was more 18, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, but we can
always wish for it.
We only did get our first test match down here against Sri Lanka summer before last, and in the NFL. Russell Wilson has just thrown a pick 6 to the Los Angeles Rams. They're going to take a 13-3 lead here. Yeah. Jeez.
We will follow that as we get through it. But yes, so to finish it off, so it doesn't look like it's going to be in Brisbane. SCG makes the most sense.
I think they'll still play in Brisbane. I think the government and the Cricket Australia will come to some sort of agreement.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's right. Some sort of cash money agreement.
Yeah, otherwise, their only options very much are Sydney, and if they don't want to do Sydney, like Monica's it, like Cam.
Hobart? They've been playing Big Bash down there.
Maybe, but if they want to travel down there and do that, that's not out of the realm of possibilities.
This will be, mark my words, we'll be talking about the Brisbane test next week.
Yeah.
They'll work something out.
Because I don't think, they haven't played at Adelaide, have they? Well, they play the first one at Adelaide.
So they've had Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney.
So I guess... Western Australia has been pretty strict on their border.
Very strict. McGowan's been very strict.
So
they've been having big crowds out there for the Scorchers.
Yeah. But getting it, of course,
they won't. I don't think they'll play in Perth.
No.
I think they'll be in Brisbane. There'll be, again, some much lower crowd than capacity and probably mask compulsory.
Yeah. Or... it may probably for them it makes more sense that that'll be the zero crowd with how hardline stance they are and with what they're doing their lockdown at the moment. They come out of 3.
There's one bloody case. Well, let's talk about something different. I'm so sick of this bloody virus bullshit. Get that vaccine rolling out. Get sport back to normal.
So, Peppy, what's happening in the Big Bash League?
Big Bash again, a lot to cover because there's been a couple double headers.
Well, we were saying there was double headers every day from our last podcast at the start of the Test cricket. So
there was. That wasn't entirely accurate. I think there was 3 double headers, and then the 2 days before the test started, it was just
That's still 8 games. So
yeah, a lot. So we won't go into too much depth. We'll just let you know the result and how the sort of the standings are shaping up. So match 23 saw the Hurricanes beat the Stars by 21 runs. David Malan made 75. And then Big Billy Stanlake had 3 for 25. Glenn Maxwell, he's been in unreal form. I think he's the highest run scorer in the Big Bash League at the moment, had 70, but it wasn't enough for the Stars. They fell 21 runs short there. Match 24 saw the Brisbane Heat defeat the Sydney Sixers. Sixers made 171, and the Heat chased it down with 4 wickets in spare. The Heat bats shared the runs, but in that first innings, big Mark Steckety took 4 for 33.
Yeah, I think Burns
did
had nothing in that game.
I think he had 20-odd in that one. And then
his next one was his breakout.
And then his next one, he had some runs. Match 25 saw, shock me, the Renegades pumped, this time by 96 runs.
They're so bad.
I was looking at the worst seasons ever. You got to go back to, I think Big Bash 2 or Big Bash 3, where the Sydney Thunder put up a big fat goose egg. They did not win a game.
Donut.
However, it was 8 games. Was the whole Big Bash in those days. Wow. So we've got 14 now. Right. So if you put up a donut on 14, then you're really, really bad. The Renegades have 2 wins so far from, I think, 9 games.
Yeah.
And at that point, they only had 1. The next game was the Sydney Sixers. They beat the Adelaide Strikers by 7 wickets. Everyone sort of shared the runs there for the Sixers. That Rashid Khan... 3 for 18. Couldn't get the Adelaide Strikers home, but he's a freak. Number 1, 2020.
He's been so good in the comp.
Just always picks up a wicket
Super
or
consistent.
2 or 3, and I don't think I can remember him going for 30 runs. Like it's always around that 5-6 runs and over. Yeah, he's a freak. And can hit a ball too. So match 27, this was the one where Joe Burns made some runs, 52, so it's good for him, obviously after being dropped from the Australian team, and his fellow Joe Denley made 50.
Finally looked aggressive in that one and got on, scored runs.
Yep, Heat were too good for the Thunder in that game. Match 28 saw a really nice display of batting from 2 blokes. Firstly, big Marcus Stoinis went the closest to getting a century so far. There hasn't been a century yet in this Big Bash League. He had 97 not out, opening the batting for the Melbourne Stars. They made 183. Wow. And then the Canes fell just 10 runs short with big Ben McDermott scoring 91. That's his second big score of the tournament.
So he's actually leading the runs with 299.
McDermott. Jeez, I was way off there. Check that out. This is why we got the best in the game. Max is 5th. Yeah. Max is 5th.
Still 255 is pretty good.
It changes very quickly.
Well, he was number 1 a few days ago. Yeah. And then obviously hasn't played a game or made runs for a little bit since. When did the Stars play? They played 2 nights ago. But that was that rain-affected game.
Yes.
So only had 10 overs. Yeah. Anyways, that's why we got Big Monkey, the best in the business. Ben McDermott currently leading with 299. Alex Hales, 269. And Josh Philippi, 266. Coming along really nicely there. Those 2 blokes there, Philippi and Carey, I reckon Philippi's a good chance to maybe snag a T20 gig for Australia with the gloves. Alex Carey. Yeah, Alex Carey makes runs, but Philippi looks good. So it'd be interesting to see what they do there.
Was this the game where the umpies missed the power surge? I think Carey called the power surge and they missed it, and he hit 2 sixes off the first 3 balls, and the umpies are like, "Oh, what are you doing?" kind of thing. And Finchie's like, "They've called power surge." And Carey was a good bloke and said, "Yeah, I called it. They showed it on the big screen."
But was the field set for?
Yeah. Like they'd come in, they'd all seen it, but the umpies had missed it.
What do you guys think about the power surge rule? I'm not minding it. It's changed the dynamic a lot.
Yeah,
like because you can take it later to
definitely
whenever you can get your biggest hitter in and then say, right, there's only 2 blokes allowed in the infield. And
it definitely helps that middle to second half, like late second half of their innings to give another point of a big score, like coming like you get score like 50 runs quickly in a couple overs because you've got that power surge there. So it really helps to keep the flow of game. So you start quick, maybe there's a bit of a lull in the middle, and then it helps bring it back up. Yeah. It's depending on how the wickets go, of course.
It's probably been my favourite of the new rules. The points are, I don't know, winning the first 10 overs for a bonus point is a bit of a meh.
That'll make more sense, I think, in a couple of weeks when we get closer to the end of the comp.
Yeah, but still, I reckon it should be like when the Renegades getting belted by 100 runs or whatever it is, you could do some sort of net run rate type thing where you get a bonus point for flogging a team that bad.
Yep.
Anyways,
Yeah.
and that I don't know about the
subs.
the
Just
super
was.
sub.
I think
Chris
that's
Lynn got super. Like he was there. He wasn't fielding the first 10 overs, and they go, "All right, Chris Lynn's in," and someone comes out. So I don't know if that's just to protect him in the field.
Yeah, it's just like give him a rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, I got to come out and carry this bloody team.
Yeah, that's essentially what they've done there because Linney's done his shoulder multiple times in the field. I reckon that's how they've used him there. Anyways, back on track. Where did we get up to here? So match 29, yep, we saw the Adelaide Strikers really pumped the Hobart Hurricanes by 60 runs. Jake Weatherall, 51 off 25. He can hit a ball. And Siddle and Agar, 3 each for the Strikers. Shout out to Big Peter Siddle, who's wearing a pretty funny sunglass dyed hair combination. Looked like bloody Corey Worthington, that bloke.
He got hit in the hand, I think, the other day.
Yeah. Is any news from that?
I can't say I've seen anything, but I just know he got hit for the ball that was coming back at him at pace.
Right. He's up there on the bowling like for wickets as well. I think he's about 6th. Obviously, they had that 5 for, which helps. Match 31 saw the Thunder. Match 30 saw the Scorchers defeat the Sixers in another blowout. They won by 86 runs in this game. Mitch Marsh had 57, not out with the bat. And Andrew Tye and Jai Richardson did the damage for the Scorchers. The Scorchers, after a bit of a slow start, climbing back up that ladder. Match 31 saw the Thunder. They made 167. They defeated the Canes by 39. Kawaja and Hales both got 40-odd, and the Thunder bowlers shared the wickets. Match 32 was this rain-affected one on the Gold Coast the other night. So they only played 10 overs each. Saw the Heat make 115. They defeat the Stars by 17 runs, even though the Stars made I don't know how this DLS works. Do you know what I mean? If you're both facing 10 overs, the total should be the same. I don't get it at all. But Chris Lynn looked pretty good there for the Heat. Smacked a quick 48. Mark Steckety again had 3 wickets, and the Heat, just like the Scorchers, are sort of climbing their way back up the standings after a bit of a rough start. And the most recent game was match 33. The Renegades got their first win since their first game. They defeated the Strikers by 6 wickets on the last ball. Phil Salt had 59 for the Strikers, but it was Big Mohammad Nami, the hard-hitting Afghan with 71 not out, get the Renegades finally back in the winning circle. Still wouldn't see them playing any finals cricket, you wouldn't think.
Yeah.
And that's been the week in the Big Bash.
So who's top 3 in the table at the moment?
Should be.
So
You got it there?
yeah, Sydney Thunders on 23, Sydney Sixers on 21, and Hobart Hurricanes on 19.
Yeah. And then Strikers 17, Scorchers 16, Heat 16, Stars 15. I reckon they're all in the mix.
Yeah.
And Renegades down there on 9 points. I think you can forget about them.
Yes. Yep.
It's a long season now, isn't it? With 14 games, the Big Bash.
I'm glad they fit it though into school holidays.
Yeah, it's pretty much
Yeah.
So Big Bash finals only the start of February. So yeah, I don't know. Some people whinge about it, say this makes it boring, or games mean less, or this or that. But
last year they went deep into February though. So it was like the second or third week of February they finished up, which to me is too long.
Doesn't bother me at all. I'm more than happy to have cricket on every night. It's probably our misso's least favourite thing this time of the year when there's Test cricket on all day and then 2020 cricket in the evening. Whole lot of white noise from their perspective. But
I've heard they're sick of watching cricket and then having to listen to it on the podcast. So
yeah, especially the second one, I'd say. Speaking of having enough cricket, that's about our wrap, I think.
So that'll finish the cricket up for this week.